"You're never playing again." That's what Terry Venables told Nigel Martyn in 2002, and he meant it. The England goalkeeper had just asked for a bit of rest after the World Cup. Instead, he got frozen out for an entire season. Yet somehow, Martyn still became Leeds United's greatest ever goalkeeper and David Moyes' best signing at Everton. At nearly 60 years old, he's finally opened up about the defining moments that shaped his remarkable career. Nigel Martyn's story isn't just about saves and clean sheets. It's about a man who stood by his principles when it mattered most. 3 pivotal moments defined his legacy: the tragic events in Istanbul, the bitter fallout with Terry Venables, and the injury that ended everything just as he'd found respect again. Let's start with April 2000. Leeds United were flying high in the UEFA Cup. They'd reached the semi-finals against Turkish giants Galatasaray. Martyn had been brilliant all tournament. He'd delivered a man-of-the-match performance against Roma. The team felt unstoppable, young, hungry, and heading for European glory. Then everything changed. On the eve of the first leg in Istanbul, 2 Leeds fans were murdered. Chris Loftus and Kevin Spate never made it home. They were stabbed in Taksim Square during clashes between rival supporters. The news hit the Leeds squad like a thunderbolt. Martyn remembers the moment vividly. After training, someone knocked on the door. Players filled the corridor as the devastating news broke. 2 of our fans have been killed. It was a little bit of disbelief, he recalled years later, but UEFA insisted the match must go ahead. The governing body's message was clear. The game is going ahead. We've got to play. Martyn felt the intense hatred from Galatasaray fans when they landed. Initially, it spurred him on. He wanted to get a result as a defiant response to the hostility. Yet the murders changed everything for him. Deep down, Martyn knew they shouldn't play. He's been haunted by that decision ever since. "We shouldn't have played that game. Even now, I think that even if the club played it, I shouldn't have," he admitted. This remains his biggest regret in football. Martyn wished Leeds had taken a moral stand. "I'd rather we said, no, we're not going to play. I don't care if you kick us out of the competition. I don't care if you ban us for a year. We're making a stand for supporters, and this sort of thing cannot happen. The emotional toll runs deep. I'd much rather have been beaten 6-0 over there, and 10-0 at home, and those 2 guys come home. I don't care. It has quite affected me really that they came to watch and didn't come home." Leeds lost the first leg 2-0. The return leg at Ellen Road was equally tense. Angry fans threw missiles at coaches carrying Turkish officials. They chanted "scum" and made throat-cutting gestures. A minute's silence lasted just 20 seconds before being interrupted by shouts. Leeds drew 2-2 but went out on aggregate. The tragedy's ripple effects reached the final in Copenhagen. Riots erupted as British hooligans attacked Galatasaray supporters in what was seen as retribution for the murders. The incident deepened the rivalry beyond normal football competition. It became deeply personal and tragic. Years later, when Harry Kewell moved from Leeds to Galatasaray, Martyn was the only former teammate to condemn the transfer. The move was massively controversial among Leeds fans who couldn't forgive the connection to those dark events in Istanbul. Fast forward to summer 2002. Terry Venables had replaced David O'Leary as Leeds manager. The club was struggling financially. Players were being sold to balance the books. Pressure was mounting from all directions. Martyn had just returned from the World Cup in Japan and South Korea. England reached the quarter-finals. He'd played every Premier League game for Leeds the previous season. The goalkeeper was knackered and needed proper rest, but Leeds gave him just 12 days off before pre-season training. Players at Arsenal and Manchester United got a month. Martyn approached assistant manager Eddie Gray. He asked to stay in Leeds and train at Thorpe Arch rather than join the Tour of Asia. He'd just spent weeks in that region with England, Gray warned him that Venables wouldn't approve. He was right. Venables, who was reportedly filming a TV show rather than being present at training, called Martyn directly. "What's this? You're not coming on the trip?" Venables demanded. Martyn explained his exhaustion. He needed rest to perform at his best. Venables' response was brutal and final. "I can't have a senior player dipping out of this. If you don't come on this trip, you're never going to play for Leeds United again." Then he hung up. Publicly, Venables told a different story. He claimed Martyn's absence could cost the England goalkeeper his first team place, but insisted there was no fallout whatsoever. He said Martyn stayed behind with his permission due to fatigue. This directly contradicted the private ultimatum. True to his word, Venables froze Martyn out completely. The England goalkeeper didn't make a single appearance in the 2002-03 season. He was relegated to playing in the reserves, a deeply frustrating experience for a player of his calibre. Paul Robinson got the #1 spot and played all 38 Premier League games. Martyn felt Robinson was given the responsibility too much, too young. He genuinely didn't want to leave Leeds. He believed it would have made more sense to sell Robinson and keep him for a few more seasons while Scott Carson developed. The treatment devastated Martyn. He worried his career was fizzling out. More painfully, he felt his respect had been stripped away. "I felt that had been taken away at Leeds," he reflected later. During this dispute, Leeds were falling apart. The financial crisis was worsening. Key players were being sold. Team morale was declining. Sidelining a respected club legend like Martyn sent a terrible message about player treatment. After a year on the sidelines, Martyn left for Everton in summer 2003. The contrast was immediate. Leeds fans chanted, "Nigel, give us a goal," when Everton visited Elland Road. Despite him being an opponent, they still loved him. The irony was cruel. Leeds were relegated in 2003-04, while Everton, with Martyn in goal, finished 6 points clear of the bottom three. They conceded 22 fewer goals than Leeds. Martyn expressed sadness that Leeds went down while he stayed up with a team he felt was not as good as the Leeds side he'd left. At Everton, Martyn found his redemption. David Moyes famously called him his greatest signing. The goalkeeper quickly established himself as vital to the team. He made 96 appearances and regained the professional respect he felt had been stripped away. Everton's 2004-05 season was special. They finished 4th in the Premier League, securing Champions League qualification. Martyn was instrumental in their success. At 38, he was still performing at the highest level. But football can be cruel. In November 2005, Martyn began experiencing ankle pain. An initial MRI scan didn't really pick up anything at all. He continued playing despite the pain getting worse. By late January 2006, during a cup game against Chelsea, the pain was unbearable. He could barely run. An operation to clear the joint offered no improvement. Only a subsequent CT scan revealed the true problem: a stress fracture of the talus bone running the full length. This wasn't a minor injury. The crack wasn't healing naturally. Martyn needed surgery to insert screws to hold the bone together. For a goalkeeper who relied on explosive movements and jumping, this was career-ending. He had a few weeks knowing that was the probable outcome, but admitted, when you're told it's still not the nicest news in the world, his body had given up on him entirely after 19 years of professional football. The timing was cruel. Just as Martyn had found respect and success again at Everton, his career was cut short. Not by choice, but by the cumulative toll of nearly 2 decades between the posts. After retiring in June 2006, Martyn briefly coached at Bradford City as a favour to former teammate David Moyes. But he largely stepped away from professional football. He returned to playing cricket and enjoyed a more private life. Looking back, Martyn's career tells a story of principle and resilience. He stood by his moral convictions over Istanbul, even though it still haunts him. He endured unfair treatment from Venables with dignity, and when injury forced his retirement, he accepted it with quiet grace. The accolades speak for themselves. Leeds fans voted him their greatest ever goalkeeper. Everton called him their best signing. He earned 23 caps for England across 4 major tournaments. His $1 million move to Crystal Palace in 1989 made him Britain's first £1 million goalkeeper. His $2.25 million transfer to Leeds was another record. But beyond the statistics and records, Martyn's legacy is one of integrity. He never played politics. He always gave his all. Even when treated unfairly, he maintained his standards and professionalism. Nearly 60 years old now, Martyn can look back with pride, not just at the saves he made, but at the stands he took. In a sport where many compromise their values for success, he stayed true to his principles. That's the mark of a true legend.